Welcome to Speak and Succeed, the podcast where we bridge the gap between ancient wisdom and modern success. I'm Brian Walter, meditation practitioner and spiritual guide, and I've spent the last 20 years, exploring how the universe responds to our deepest intentions.
And I'm Alice Brown, a financial advisor with one of the big four firms. Now, I know what you're thinking. What's a numbers person doing on a show about manifesting? Well, turns out there's more science behind this stuff than you might think. I mean, we're talking about real behavioral psychology here.
Exactly, and that's why today we're diving deep into manifesting wealth with both science and spirituality. Alice, I've got to say, when I first heard you were interested in this topic, I was intrigued. You know, most financial advisors I meet are pretty skeptical about manifestation.
Oh, I was too, trust me. But then I started noticing patterns in my most successful clients. They weren't just good with budgets and investments. They had this mindset, this way of thinking about money that was completely different. Like they expected abundance. And that expectation, it actually changed their behavior in measurable ways.
That's fascinating because, that's exactly what we see in meditation practice. When we shift our internal state, our external reality shifts too. So let's start with the basics, daily affirmations and visualization. Alice, from your perspective, what's actually happening in the brain when someone does this?
Right. So there's this thing called the reticular activating system, or RAS. It's basically your brain's filtering mechanism. When you repeatedly focus on something, like saying, money flows to me effortlessly every morning, you're literally programming your brain to notice opportunities related to wealth. It's like, when you're thinking about buying a red car and suddenly you see red cars everywhere?
Yes, exactly. And from the spiritual side, we're working with what I call energetic alignment. When we visualize our goals with emotional intensity, really feel into having that financial freedom, we're creating a vibrational match for abundance. I always tell my clients to spend at least 10 minutes each morning visualizing their ideal financial situation. But here's the key. You can't just see the numbers in your bank account. You have to feel what it feels like to have that security. What does it feel like to pay bills without anxiety? What does it feel like to make a purchase without checking your balance first? I guide people through this. Imagine walking into your dream house, feeling the keys in your hand, knowing it's yours and paid for. Feel the relief, the pride, the freedom. And then we anchor those feelings in the body. Where do you feel abundance? Some people feel it as warmth in their chest, others as expansion in their solar plexus. The more viscerally real you make the visualization, the more your subconscious mind believes it's possible.
And you know what? That visualization piece, it's actually backed by sports psychology research. Athletes who visualize their performance consistently outperform those who don't. Same principle applies to financial goals. But here's where I think we need to be careful, and Brian, you might disagree with me here.
No, I'm curious. What are you thinking?
Well, visualization without action is just daydreaming. You can't just affirm your way to wealth without, actual financial habits, like budgeting, saving, understanding compound interest. I see people who think manifestation means they can skip the practical stuff, and that's where they get stuck.
Oh, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. In my practice, we talk about inspired action. The universe or your subconscious mind, however you want to frame it, it shows you the opportunities, but you still have to walk through the doors. So what practical habits do you recommend alongside the manifestation work?
Well, first thing, track everything. And I mean everything. Income, expenses, investments, debts. You cannot manage what you don't measure. I use this rule with all my clients. Spend 15 minutes every week reviewing your financial progress. It's like manifestation with metrics, You're literally watching your intentions become reality in real numbers. And here's what's really powerful about this. I have clients use what I call the abundance spreadsheet. It's not just tracking expenses, though that's important. You track your income sources, any unexpected money that comes in, opportunities that present themselves, even compliments about your work. You start to see patterns between your mindset work and these external manifestations. For example, I had a client who started doing daily affirmations in January. By March, she'd received 2 job offers she hadn't even applied for. Her side business got featured in a local magazine, and she found $20 in an old coat pocket. Coincidence? Maybe. But when you're tracking, you notice these things instead of dismissing them.
That's brilliant because it creates a feedback loop. The more you track, the more aware you become, and awareness is the first step to transformation. Now, speaking of environment, let's talk about creating an abundance-aligned space. Alice, do you think our physical environment actually impacts our financial mindset?
Absolutely. There's research on environmental psychology that shows our surroundings directly affect our decision making. Like cluttered spaces actually increase cortisol levels, which, well, high cortisol makes us make impulsive financial decisions. But Brian, you're probably going to talk about crystals now, aren't you?
You know me too well. But here's the thing. Whether you believe in the energetic properties of crystals or not, there's something powerful about having physical reminders of your intentions. I keep citrine on my desk. It's known as the merchant stone. And every time I see it, it reminds me to think abundantly. Pyrite for confidence, green aventurine for opportunity.
Okay, I'll give you that. It's like visual cues for your financial goals. I actually tell my clients to put pictures of their dream house or retirement plans on their vision board. Same concept, different approach. The key is having these reminders visible in your daily environment.
Exactly. And speaking of visual reminders, what about wallet talismans? I know this might sound a bit, well, mystical, but I encourage people to keep something meaningful in their wallet. A small crystal, a written affirmation, even just a note that says, I am worthy of abundance.
You know what? That's actually smart psychology. Every time you open your wallet, which, let's be honest, we do multiple times a day, you're getting a positive money message. It's like microdosing affirmations. I might start recommending this to clients, though I'll probably call it financial anchoring instead of talismans.
I love it. Financial anchoring. Very corporate. But whatever works, right? Now, let's talk about timing. In my practice, I've noticed that certain times seem more potent for manifestation work. New moon energy is incredible for setting new financial intentions. There's something about that blank slate energy.
Okay, now you're getting a bit too cosmic for me. But I will say this. There is research on circadian rhythms and decision making. Our brains are most clear and focused in the early morning, around 5 a.m. actually. So if you're going to do visualization or affirmation work, that's prime time neurologically speaking.
See? We're more aligned than you think. 5 a.m. is actually when I do my meditation and manifestation practice. The veil between conscious and subconscious mind is thinnest then. Plus, there's something magical about starting your day with intention before the world gets crazy.
You know, Alice, since we're talking about daily practices and that 5 a.m. clarity window, I want to share what I call the abundance morning formula. This is a routine I've developed over 15 years of practice, and I've seen it transform people's relationship with money completely. It starts with just 10 minutes. First, you spend 2 minutes in gratitude, specifically for anything money-related from the previous day. Even if it's just, I'm grateful I had enough for lunch. Then 3 minutes of visualization, seeing and feeling your financial goals as already achieved. Then 3 minutes of affirmations, but not just any affirmations. personalized ones based on your specific blocks. And finally, 2 minutes of what I call inspired action planning. Asking your intuition what one small step you can take today toward your financial goals. This isn't about making a huge business plan. It's about listening for those nudges toward opportunity.
I love that framework, Brian. And you know what's interesting? I have clients do something very similar, but I call it financial mindfulness mornings. Same 10-minute concept, but slightly different approach. 2 minutes reviewing their financial goals and progress from yesterday, what went well, what could improve. 3 minutes visualizing their ideal financial day, not just the end goal, but how they want to feel about money choices throughout the day. 3 minutes on what I call intention setting, choosing how they want to show up financially that day. And then 2 minutes planning one specific money action, whether it's checking their investment performance, researching a side hustle idea, or even just organizing their financial documents. The key is that daily connection between intention and action. I can get behind that. Less distractions, more mental clarity. It makes sense. But, Brian, I have to ask, what about all this angel number stuff? I keep seeing clients obsess over seeing 888 everywhere. Is there, is there actually something to that?
888, the financial abundance number. Look, from a purely spiritual perspective, these numbers are signs from the universe that you're aligned with abundance energy. But from a practical standpoint, it's your brain's pattern recognition system at work. When you're focused on financial goals, you naturally notice patterns related to money.
Right. It's that reticular activating system again. But here's what I find interesting. When clients start noticing these signs, they tend to make better financial decisions overall. Like they're more tuned in to opportunities, more mindful about spending. So even if it's just psychology, it's effective psychology.
Exactly. And speaking of tuning in, let's talk about sound frequencies. This might sound really out there, Alice, but there's growing research on how specific frequencies affect our brain waves. 528 hertz and 432 hertz are particularly associated with abundance and healing.
You know, I actually looked into this after a client mentioned it. There is some research on binaural beats affecting brainwave states. I'm not sure about the specific frequencies you mentioned, but if listening to certain sounds while you're doing financial planning helps you focus and make better decisions, then why not? It's like background music for your money mindset.
I love that. Background music for your money mindset. You can actually find these frequencies on YouTube. I recommend listening while you're doing your financial planning or meditation. It creates this coherent energy field that supports abundance thinking.
Okay, coherent energy fields might be pushing it for me, but I'm all for anything that helps people focus on their financial goals. And speaking of focus, let's talk about gratitude journaling, because this is where I think spirituality and financial planning really overlap beautifully.
Oh, absolutely. Gratitude is it's the foundation of abundance consciousness. When you're grateful for what you already have, you create space for more to flow in. I tell my clients to write down 3 things they're financially grateful for every single day. Even if it's just, I'm grateful I could buy coffee this morning.
And from a research perspective, gratitude practices actually rewire your brain for positivity. There's this whole field called positive psychology, and they found that people who practice gratitude are more optimistic about their financial future and more likely to save money. It's like you start appreciating what you have instead of always wanting more.
Yes, and that shift from scarcity to abundance thinking, that's where the magic happens. But here's something I learned recently that might surprise people: the importance of giving. Alice, I know this sounds counterintuitive from a financial planning perspective, but hear me out.
Actually, no, I totally get this. We call it the wealth paradox. The more generous wealthy people are, the wealthier they tend to become. Now, I'm not saying give away money you don't have, but strategic giving, whether it's time, knowledge, or resources, creates this network effect that often comes back to benefit you financially.
Exactly. From the spiritual side, it's about circulation. Money is energy, and energy needs to flow. When you hoard it or hold on to it too tightly out of fear, you actually block the flow. But when you give generously, whether it's mentoring someone, donating to causes you believe in, or even just buying lunch for a friend, you signal to the universe that you trust in abundance.
And practically speaking, generous people build stronger networks. They're more likely to receive referrals, business opportunities, job offers. It's like investing in social capital. But the key word here is strategic. You should be giving from overflow, not from scarcity. Make sure your own financial house is in order first. You know, Brian, this brings up something I see all the time with clients. The biggest obstacles to manifesting wealth aren't external, they're internal. People sabotage themselves right when things start working. I call them the abundance blocks, and they're surprisingly predictable.
Oh, I'm so glad you brought this up. Yes, the self-sabotage patterns are fascinating from a spiritual perspective. It's like people get to the edge of their comfort zone around money, and then their ego steps in with all these stories. I don't deserve this, or people like me don't have money, or if I succeed, I'll lose my friends. What do you see most often with your clients?
The most common one, impulse spending, right after they start seeing results. Like, they'll have their best month ever and then immediately spend way more than usual. It's like their subconscious is trying to bring them back to their familiar financial comfort zone. Another big one is what I call success minimizing. They'll get a raise or a bonus, and instead of celebrating, they'll immediately focus on why it wasn't enough or why it probably won't last. They literally talk themselves out of acknowledging their progress. And then there's the unworthiness spiral. This is especially common with people who grew up with money struggles. The better things get, the more anxious they become. They start waiting for the other shoe to drop instead of enjoying their success.
Yes, and from the energy work side, these blocks are usually rooted in childhood programming or inherited family beliefs about money. I work with people to identify their money story, what they learned about wealth from their parents, their community, their early experiences. The unworthiness spiral is huge. I always tell people abundance is your birthright. You don't have to earn your right to prosperity any more than a flower has to earn the right to bloom. But reprogramming those deep beliefs, that takes time and patience. One technique I love is the inner child money healing meditation. You visualize your younger self and give them permission to want nice things, to dream big, to believe they deserve abundance. Because often these blocks formed when we were very young.
That's beautiful, Brian. And you know what? Even from a practical standpoint, addressing these emotional blocks is crucial for long-term financial success. I actually recommend that clients pause and ask themselves, what would I do with money if I knew I deserved it? That simple question can reveal so much about their limiting beliefs. I also have them practice what I call abundance exposure therapy. Start with small amounts. Maybe allow yourself to buy the organic strawberries instead of the regular ones, or get the premium gas for your car. Practice feeling worthy of small luxuries so that when bigger opportunities come, you don't automatically reject them.
Absolutely. And this brings us to something really important: tracking your progress, both spiritually and practically. Alice, how you recommend people measure their manifestation results alongside their actual financial growth?
This is where I get excited because, well, I love data. I recommend what I call a prosperity dashboard. Track your net worth monthly, your income quarterly, and your manifestation practices daily. So you might note, did I do my affirmations today? Did I visualize my goals? What opportunities showed up? You start to see patterns between your inner work and your outer results.
I love that. A prosperity dashboard. And you know what I've noticed? The people who track both their spiritual practices and their financial metrics, they tend to have these breakthrough moments where everything clicks. Like, they'll notice that in months when they were consistent with their morning routine, their income went up. Or when they were practicing more gratitude, unexpected opportunities appeared.
Right. And even if you're skeptical about the spiritual side, those correlations are still valuable data. Maybe it's not manifestation. Maybe it's just that people who are more intentional about their goals tend to achieve them. Either way, the results speak for themselves.
Exactly. And I think that's the beautiful thing about this conversation, Alice. Whether you approach it from a spiritual perspective or a scientific one, the practices work. The key is consistency and adapting your approach as you learn what works best for you.
Absolutely. And I think for our listeners who might be wondering where to start, you don't have to dive into everything at once. Pick one or two practices that resonate with you. Maybe it's morning affirmations and budget tracking. Or maybe it's gratitude journaling and setting up a vision board. Start simple and build from there.
Yes, and remember, this is a practice, not a destination. Some days you'll feel totally aligned and abundant. Other days, you might struggle with money fears or limiting beliefs. That's normal. The goal is progress, not perfection.
And you know what? Even if manifestation is just placebo effect, it's a pretty powerful placebo. If believing that the universe supports your financial success helps you take better action, make smarter decisions, and stay motivated through challenges, then, that's worth something, right?
I love that you said that, because ultimately, whether you call it manifestation, positive psychology, or just smart goal setting, the results are what matter. And when people combine spiritual practices with practical financial strategies, the results can be pretty remarkable.
So let's wrap up with some key takeaways for our listeners. First, daily practices matter, whether that's affirmations, visualization, or just checking your bank balance. Consistency is key. Second, your environment affects your mindset, so create a space that supports your financial goals.
Third, track everything, both your practices and your progress. And fourth, remember that abundance is about circulation, not accumulation. Be generous when you can. Practice gratitude for what you have, and trust that there's enough for everyone.
And most importantly, take action. All the visualization and affirmations in the world won't help if you're not also doing the practical work of budgeting, saving, investing, and building your financial skills.
Perfect. Alice, this has been such a fascinating conversation. I think we've shown that science and spirituality don't have to be at odds when it comes to building wealth. They can actually work beautifully together.
Absolutely, Brian. And for our listeners, remember your relationship with money is just that, a relationship. Like any relationship, it requires attention, care, and intentionality. Whether you approach it through meditation or spreadsheets, or both, the key is showing up consistently.
Beautifully said. Thank you all for joining us on Speak and Succeed. Until next time, may your intentions be clear, your actions be inspired, and your abundance be unlimited.
And remember, whether you're manifesting or just planning, your financial future is in your hands. Keep practicing, stay consistent, and trust the process. We'll see you next time.